Hi, I'm Seb Eastwood and I'm a professional psychotherapist in full-time private practice. I developed something called Sequential Psychotherapy to help you quickly resolve troubling symptoms and problems in an effective, systematic way. When I got to the stage of needing therapy in my mid-20s, I was not only overwhelmed by all the different types of help available, I was also afraid of what needing therapy actually meant about me as a person. Was I crazy? Was I weak in the head? Was I doomed to live a life of never-ending symptoms that I'd have to manage with medication? I also had a number of other questions that were concerning me. What was I about to do? Is it scary? Is it worth the money? Will it work? How would it work? How can talking to some guy in an office stop me from feeling rubbish every day? Here's what I discovered, and I think it's something that most people aren't very aware of. Therapy can, in fact, help you completely resolve all sorts of symptoms and problems. From feeling out of control to having the heebie-jeebies all the time. From physical symptoms that just won't budge to quirky little things that you do in private that you don't really want anyone to know about. Successful therapy is about resolving the often unconscious issues that hold your symptoms in place. However, if you've been on the internet looking for help, you can quickly find yourself confronted with a confusing range of choices and questions. Do I need to see a counsellor? A psychologist? A psychiatrist? A psychotherapist? A hypnotherapist, or even a psychoanalyst. Simply put, all of these specialists are just different types of psychotherapist. It's also easy to feel overwhelmed by the sea of names and acronyms of all the different types of help available. You can start to feel like a fish out of water, or a bit out of your depth, or any other rubbish pun you can think of. I know I did when I needed some help in the past, so when I became a therapist I asked myself a simple question. How do I make this stuff more user-friendly, while at the same time making it more effective? So I started by filtering all of the different approaches down by asking, what's the evidence base for this? How time-effective is it? Can it be done online to meet the needs of modern people? How predictable and enduring are the results? I then split the best practices into 4 categories. Ones that focus on thought processes, ones that focus on emotional processes, ones that focus on bodily processes, and ones that focus on inner conflicts. People in this category generally think that symptoms and problems are caused by patterns of faulty thinking and faulty perceptions. However, people in this category feel that symptoms are actually caused by our emotional needs and the unconscious strategies we employ to meet those needs. In this category, they sense that symptoms are caused by our body's fight, flight, or freeze survival response getting stuck in the on mode. And yet people in this category believe that symptoms are caused by the natural conflicts that result from our conflicting drives and desires. Like me, you're probably wondering, how can there be so many different ideas about what causes problems in humans? All this started making sense when I began mapping the different approaches onto the human brain. In its simplest form, the human brain evolved in 3 main stages. The oldest part of the brain, down here, is called the brainstem, and it deals with all of your instinctive bodily processes, such as heart rate, breathing, sensory perceptions, and your body's fight, flight, or freeze response. It helps you react instinctively to physical threats. The brainstem is really the bridge between your brain and the rest of your body. The next part to evolve is known as the limbic system. It deals with all of your social and emotional processes. It helps you learn what and who is safe and unsafe in the world, and helps you react instinctively to protect yourself from social and emotional threats. The last part to evolve was the neocortex. This is where your conscious thought processes take place. It's where you make slow, rational decisions about how to deal with potential future threats by pondering all of the information currently available to you. In many ways, it's like you have 3 brains in one. Your 3 brain regions process different types of information in different ways, and they each serve specific survival functions. Sometimes conflicts emerge from the different survival motivations of your different brain regions. For example, your brainstem wants you to eat as much sugar and fat as you can, because sugar and fat used to be a scarce resource and a great source of energy. However, your neocortex knows that there's an abundance of sugar and fat around these days, and gorging on it will only lead to health complications in the future. And so a basic conflict emerges between the short-term goals of your brainstem that craves junk food and the long-term goals of your neocortex that wants you to be fit and healthy in the future. Many other such conflicts can exist, and so there we have our fourth category, inner conflicts. Perhaps an easier way to think of your brain is like 3 floors of an office building. On each floor is a different department that focuses on a different need of the company. Down here in the brainstem department, they focus on stock replenishment and the day-to-day running and maintenance of the building. As the company grew, it needed a second floor to deal with things like public relations and human resources. Then a third department was added to deal with all of the data processing and long-term strategy of the company. These guys are always thinking ahead and trying to manage issues on the horizon. All day long, information is being passed on from department to department so that they can assess and address it in their own special way before passing it on. When information comes from the lower regions, we call this bottom-up control. When information is passed down from higher regions, we call this top-down control. In the lifetime of the company, various experiences can cause each department to develop stubborn ideas about how best to protect the company. This can affect the kind of information being passed around, and this is where problems can develop. Sometimes one department will assume, I know what's best for the company right now, and go ahead without the other's permission, leaving everyone else a little confused as to what's happening. Technically, we refer to these actions as instinctive responses because they take place without your awareness of doing anything to cause them to happen. Instinctive responses can be psychological, emotional, behavioral, or physiological in nature. Commonly, however, we refer to them as symptoms because we don't see any logical reason for them to happen in the first place. It's easy to understand why you instinctively jump out the way of a moving car, but it's harder to see why you instinctively do things that seem harmful to your general well-being, or instinctively feel on edge when there's nothing to fear. Sequential psychotherapy guides you step by step through how to understand and work with each brain region in order to change the flow of information being passed around and thus bring about an end to your symptoms. To return to the original questions I asked myself, is it scary? Not at all. In fact, sequential psychotherapy is designed to be a positive, uplifting experience. Most of us have a basic understanding of how our body works, our digestive system, the function of our heart and lungs, bones and muscles. But hardly anyone has a basic understanding of how their brain works, and I think this needs to change. Because when you understand the brain, you understand that your symptoms aren't about any weakness in your character, nor are they a sign that you're going crazy. They are simply byproducts of how your brain has been shaped by your unique life experiences. Fortunately, all of this stuff can change thanks to a cool process known as neuroplasticity. The term neuroplasticity describes how the brain can rewire itself through specific experiences. In sequential psychotherapy, we realign, reappraise, and recalibrate wherever necessary to restore a healthy communication back to your 3 brain regions and prevent undesirable instinctive responses. Unlike most therapies that don't really inform you how they actually work, at every step in sequential psychotherapy, I'll talk you through what we're doing, how we're going to do it, and why we're going to do it. Often my clients report that this knowledge alone helps them understand themselves better and feel more comfortable and in control in themselves. Is it worth the money? Absolutely. Having had to pay for therapy myself, I know how hard it can be to fund. For most of us, having an extra weekly outgoing can put a strain on an already stretched budget. For this reason, I designed sequential psychotherapy so it can be broken down into small, manageable steps that can be spaced according to your own budget requirements. I also designed it so that every single session produces noticeable results so that you know that your money is being well spent. Not only do I offer a free initial consultation and assessment so that we can see if we feel comfortable working together, but if after your very first session you don't think this is for you, I'll happily give you your money back. Why would I do this, you may ask? Well, it's for 2 reasons. 1, I really believe in what I do, and 2, I don't want you to pay for anything that you don't believe will be truly beneficial to you in your life. Will it work? Because sequential psychotherapy is based on scientifically validated brain processes, it means that the approach is more targeted than traditional talk therapies that tend to talk around the issue in a rather general way. And because it works with the brain as a whole, it means we systematically untie all of the different strands that are holding your symptoms in place, some of which can be overlooked in other forms of therapy. If, like me, you've experienced the frustration of trying to understand a complicated piece of technology, all you want is a step-by-step walkthrough that guides you point by point through how to solve the issue and move on. And that's exactly what sequential psychotherapy is. Whether you're looking to overcome anxious feelings or low moods, addictive behavior patterns, issues with weight or body image, obsessive or compulsive behaviors, anger issues, relationship problems or sexual problems, or a whole host of other issues that we can find ourselves experiencing, why not get in touch through the website and let me guide you through the simple steps to success.